Hey guys, it's Haylley. So, for those who don't know me or don't know this channel, put out a few videos like a year and a half ago in about 2024 talking about my faith and little lessons, stuff that I wanted to share with other people. I stopped for a bit and we'll get into why I stopped and everything, but the main point is now I feel a bit more ready, a little more certain. But yeah, we're gonna start off with my upbringing in faith. My mum's Catholic, was brought up Catholic. My dad's atheist, or he's still figuring out what he believes. I grew up going to church. I did youth group for a bit. Me and my sister did. We were like the oldest of our youth group at the time, so I felt more like I was one of the helpers. Didn't really have a personal relationship with God. It's like acknowledging an acquaintance or like a auntie or an uncle who forced to meet. Like, you don't know them really, but you just say hi. Year 11, I went to my first Christian camp. I really liked going there because I got to meet other kids my age and I made a lot of friends. And a lot of them were Pacifica, which I loved. Like, I felt kind of like at home in a way, especially because Christianity plays a big part within the islands. During that time there, I had my first Holy Spirit type of encounter where we were listening to worship music and, you know, everyone's got their hands up like this. So I was like, okay. I think just because it was my first time seeing it, it felt kind of performative and I was like, I don't know how to feel about this. But I was like, okay, I'll kind of do it. So I'm going like this, like, hopefully no one's looking at me. Again, I'm thinking way too much about other people than worrying about myself and like my connection or relationship with God at this point. But I had this moment where like I guess I started crying and like I felt the Holy Spirit come like touch me or whatever. And afterwards I was like, wow, like I've never felt that feeling before. And so I guess in a way I kind of kept trying to seek and find that feeling. It made me more curious to feel that again. So I kind of like dabbled. I got close to God, but then, you know, you drift and whatnot. So I was doing a lot of that. Come year 12, that was during COVID in 2020. I loved that time. Not COVID itself, but because I have a big family and me and my sister were like besties. We spent so much time together. We loved it. I still spent time chatting with my friends. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just like my world was very small at the time, but I wasn't that worried about COVID. I was thinking, no, we're going to end up going back to school. Like, everything's going to be fine. It's just, this is what it is. If that wasn't possible, I got even closer with my sister and we were like besties. And I remember thinking, wow, like, I don't really need anyone else because she was like my everything. She held so many qualities and characteristics that were just so perfect that they fulfilled all my needs or wants in ways that like other friendships or other people in my life lacked. So I could be my most raw, authentic, darkest self and I wouldn't have to worry about her judging me, stuff like that, because again, we've seen a lot of those sides of each other as sisters, literally grown up with each other. We've like fought, we've laughed, we've cried, we have our own secrets and stuff like that. So she was like the perfect puzzle piece in my life at the time. Come 2021, I was year 13. Like I just felt so happy. I was like, wow, life is so good right now. During that time, my youngest sister was born in Jan, and then come March the 17th, my sister, who I was very, very close with, she passed away. My sister, she passed away on the 17th of March 2021 from a brain aneurysm. It was very unexpected. No one knew of it beforehand. As the oldest of 6, you have to be the calm one in a way. So when everyone else is panicking, you need to be the one to have your head straight. So I guess I still was in denial. I didn't really believe it. In a way, everyone's looking at me like you need to be crying, and so I was playing the part. During that time, I felt very, I don't know if it's disassociation, I'm in denial or something like that, but I felt kind of numb. I wasn't even like mad or like angry at God or like praying him. In my head, it was just, well, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I kind of tried to find a way to look at the bright side of stuff, just trying to make sense of it all. Yeah, that whole year I didn't really deal with the grief, and because it was my last year and there was like so much going on with plans for uni and stuff in my head, I was thinking, okay, let me just get through this year and then I can deal with all that stuff next year. Like, let me finish off high school strong and then I can worry about that for uni. 2022 was when I had uni. That first year I really fell apart then. I struggled academically, I struggled mentally and emotionally. I just felt so lost. I thought that was my rock bottom. There were plans in place where I did better at school academically for that second semester, but coming out of it in November, I was at my lowest I'd ever been. It really got to a point where if something happened to me tomorrow, well, I didn't really care. That's pretty much what I was saying in my head. But yeah, that year was like the toughest for me, and I just remember like crying so much, talking to God, and also trying to figure out my own grief because I know I still had to deal with a lot of that. 2023 came. I felt better in the sense that it was a new year. To sum up 2023, it was just head down, just keep doing what I had to do. I was really getting into like journaling. That's when I started to write to God more. Coming into those uni years, that's been the time where I've really come to God and like developed a proper relationship with Him. Because yes, you can have friends and stuff, but it's just a different kind of intimate relationship when you can write down how you're feeling and know that you're not being judged. Or like people don't already have this prediction of what you're like, or they assume they already know what you're like. So if you step outside of that makeshift box I've made for you, they'll be shocked or say, this isn't you or something. You know what I mean? Sorry, it's very hard to explain. So that kind of helped me to get close to God, and I spent more time reading the Bible, listening to more worship music. And I think what helped the most was there was no outside voices telling me I had to. No one was forcing it on me. I found it on my own, which makes it that much more genuine. 2024, so much better. Again, I was struggling in different ways, but it was more in a way spiritually. I got a lot closer to God and I started to do these videos. They started out real strong, but I also realized that subconsciously I felt in order to speak about the topics that I wanted to, I had to overcome them myself, or like I couldn't be struggling myself. And so that's when I kind of did some videos, but then I also stopped for a bit because I wanted to make sure my heart was in the right place. The last thing I wanted to do, especially with these videos, was put on a mask or have to hide parts of myself and not be my true self, whether that was speaking my mind or making sure that I didn't feel like I had to preach in a certain way. Because the last thing I want to do is preach. Me, I know I'm not a preachy kind of person. I have respect for those who can preach and do that stuff, but that's just not me. I had this thought or perspective that in order to be a teacher, you had to be skilled or an expert in that area. And that's the last thing that I am. I am no expert in anything. I just know a little with this, I know a little with that. I can only speak on my experiences and what I know and what I've been through. 2025 was probably my favourite year, uni, just because I kind of got in a good groove. It was my last year, so I was happy to come towards the end of it. I had so many great experiences, events, things that happened that I was so grateful and blessed for. Now we come to 2026. This year I graduated from uni, which I was so happy about. I also decided I was going to take a gap year just to give myself a break after continuous study for 17 years. I just really wanted to rest, recover, sort out my priorities, really sit for a bit and think about what I want to do next. And even that within itself has been kind of a roller coaster, because resting isn't just physical, it's mental, and I found that to be a lot harder than I thought it would be. So we have drifted, questioned, and returned. I'll say it's common to drift when you start out your faith journey or having a relationship with God. I found that there was a lot of judgment and pressure to be perfect in your faith, and once you start, it's like you've got to go cold turkey on everything else. There's also a lot of pressure to always be on, if that makes sense. That your relationship is always strong, it's always perfect, it's always nothing's going wrong, and it's only getting better and better and better. Whereas if we were to be realistic, think of any relationship ever, whether that's with your parents, whether that's with your significant other, whether that's with your friends, whether that's with your co-workers, I don't know. No relationship is ever perfect and the exact same. If it is, wow, something's wrong, because someone's being fake or someone's trying too hard to please the other person. And all relationships, no matter what kind it is, they're going to have ups and downs and bumps in the road. There'll be times where you guys drift a bit, but then you might come back 10 times stronger. There might be times where you guys have a little tiff here, but you'll work it out. Some relationships, they burn real bright and go real fast and they die very quickly. It's all just a matter of putting in the effort and riding out those tough times. And that's what I've found with my faith, my relationship with God, is that I tend to drift as well. There's nothing wrong with drifting so long as, you always come back. Or if you are drifting, ask yourself why. Try and find out what's triggering it or what's causing it, because that'll ultimately lead you to fixing it a lot sooner instead of putting it off. Questioned. I love asking questions, and I think we need to ask questions a lot more. And there's nothing wrong with questioning something, whether that's faith, motives, grief, struggles. I think it's always good to have questions. You don't need to always have the answers, but don't fear that having questions automatically means that something is suspicious or has doubt behind it, because not all questions do. Some of them is because you genuinely have a curious mind, you want to learn more, someone else might want to learn more. You may also be looking for a different perspective, a different answer. And if you are, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think we should be shunned for asking questions. And I don't think God would be upset if you had 100 questions for him, because it shows that you're interested, it shows that you're curious and that it's something you want to learn more about. Me personally, I have always been someone who doesn't like being out of control or not being prepared for something. So I tend to always ask questions regarding the future. What am I meant to do? What do I need to learn? What do I need to heal from? What's my path? And obviously there's some questions which God's great. I'm sure he's grateful and happy that I want to know, but it's just you'll find out sooner or later, and you don't need to know the answer right now, because whatever you're doing right now or wherever you're going, it's leading you on the path that you need to be. Even with grief, I went through denial, anger, sadness, and fear, and I questioned why things like that happen, such as loved ones that leave us too soon, why it has to be them, why it can't be someone else, why, all those different questions. I guess there's never any right answer, because you can't say they've lived their whole life, because there's some people who just die too early that you can't justify something like that, or everything happens for a reason. You can't justify that in some cases, or that they deserved this or they deserve that, because it's just very insensitive and it can be hard to process as well, because it's not giving a definitive answer. It's just something that's hard to process. We also need to find a way to be okay with that, or to live our lives and accept that some things we'll never know the answer to. Where I've returned, I think this is a big one, returning, because it's so easy to drift, it's so easy to question and doubt, but the returning part can be so much harder sometimes than it is to leave in the first place, because it can require not only surrendering, sometimes coming back and saying I was wrong, it's a pride or ego thing, but it's also, that you've tried every absolute solution and you still can't do something, or you're still in pain, and knowing that God's there to help you, or that he's welcoming you back, not in a way of saying I told you so, but because he genuinely wants you to come back, and he's ready for when you're ready to come back too. He's never gonna sit there and deny you. And a lot of reasons I do return is because I know I can return and not be judged. I think that's the biggest thing. Now, the word judged can be used differently, because in a way, yes, if you want to talk about God judging. He does judge us all at the end of our life, but also in the sense that he doesn't judge us how our peers would judge us from one perspective. He sees all of us, so he understands what we're going through. He understands how we're feeling, why we might do what we do, even when we don't understand ourselves. I don't have to explain myself all the time. I don't need to try and make excuses or try and find the words to describe how I'm feeling. He just knows, and he just holds me. Sometimes you just want to be held. Sometimes you just want to be told it's okay. And that's what I find the most comforting about God, is that you don't need to know everything. You don't need to have everything. You don't need to do everything or anything really for him to understand where you're coming from. It could be your intentions, your thought process behind why you did something. Because some things others are quick to judge that they think is very surface level, when there's a lot of deeper wounds or cracks that God sees. He understands where you're coming from, but he also wants to help you heal from. He has the most caring, forgiving heart. Nothing beats being understood, in my opinion. Someone can know you, know what you do, say that it's predictable, but to understand a person, how many layers they have, or how many different sides of them, and understanding why behind that logical stuff, that just scratches my brain the right way. So, why am I making this series? I'm making this series to continue to show my growth. I'm hoping it helps someone, even if it's just one person. It shows that not all journeys are perfect, that all journeys can change and show up in different forms. If I teach something, or I'm able to provide someone with insight to something that they didn't know before, that's a blessing, and I'm grateful for that. Also, it provides a way for me to come and share God's word without forcing it on other people. Like, if you choose to click on this, you choose to click on this, and I'm grateful you click on it. If you don't want it, you don't want to hear it, that's fine. You can click straight out. Don't get me wrong, I love sharing the Bible. I love sharing God with other people, but I'm also someone who won't force it on people if they don't want to hear it. And I'm hoping by making this series as well, you guys get to know me better, that you get to see a different side to me that is different from my music or from my normal lifestyle. I'm hoping it also brings me back into making sure that when I make this series, that it's rooted in authenticity, that it's genuine, and that my heart posture's in the right place, that I'm not performing or looking to other people, but I'm looking only to God and only to me. I'm hoping, just as one person, that my advice or my experiences help others to maybe feel not so alone, that they can reach out if they want, and that they're not being condemned. The last thing I want to do is condemn another person. I just want them to feel seen, to feel heard, and that it's okay to mess up, struggle, drift. But to always know that there's someone out there who's always waiting for you, who will always be there, who understands and will provide a listening ear and cares about you. What does faith look like for me right now? Faith looks like pushing through uncomfortable or uncertain times, recognizing and accepting that you don't know what's next, and that's okay. I'm learning to sit with uncomfortable feelings. It's so easy to try and distract yourself from it or put it off and think that if I just ignore it, it'll go away. And while I'm waiting, I'm serving others, showing up for myself, being a good person, not only to others but also to yourself, vice versa. As someone who's struggled with people pleasing, I always put others first. But it's also learning to put yourself first at times as well, and taking care of yourself, your vessel. I'm hoping this provides a great foundation to what this season or series could be. Every stage of our faith journey is beautiful and is necessary for us to learn, for us to heal, for us to grow as people. And I hope this all brings us closer to God together. So thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys all lots. And I'll see you guys in my next episode. Love yous. Mwah.